This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradley above at the top of the screen, and everything that we're talking about here today. It's green light go from BIS. You're not going to believe it. I tell you the truth. The whole space, the CBDC space, the digital asset space, XRP, it all just feels imminent. It really, really does. Let's go ahead and get started right here. For one, U.S. regulators are finally lining up over digital assets. A recent flurry of U.S. regulatory activity is helping legitimize the digital asset space. Here is the latest on SEC, FINRA, CFTC, and OCC new level of coordination. Rest assured, I've already done the reading. I'm going to save you the trouble. So, big sigh of relief. I'm not going to read it to you. So I will show you the article and basically get to the bottom of it here. So what's the bottom of it? The bottom of, first of all, it's a great article, by the way, by the writer. I think it's Jackson Mueller. Is that who it was at the end? Let me just see. It is Jackson Mueller, yeah. So here, basically all of these agencies, and I wanted to show this because, look, we sense the frustration from Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. I think that frustration's real. I think I have the luxury, because I sit on the outside as a retail investor and as a YouTuber. I have the luxury to sit here and to be able to casually say it's not a big deal. It's all a stack deck, game set match, the whole bit. Because I have that luxury because I'm on the outside. I don't have the luxury of understanding what the inside baseball going on is. And I don't mean anything bad by that. I just mean that, Ripple has someone they're working with on lobbying in DC. They may know that there's more of a headache there than I do. They may be more aware of the, inside workings of government and how far congressmen and women really are from being able to wrap their minds around what needs to happen. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I do feel like that the big national party campaign funds and whoever heads them will talk to whoever it is that's missing the links here, and they will fill in the gaps for them, even if it comes down to them telling them, listen, this is going to go through or you won't be here next election cycle. Or do we understand now? Because I think that's really what it does come down to. Money makes the world go round, not politics. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to highlight here that the regulatory agencies that you see here are actually working together. This article was done really well. And the reason I wanted to point it out is because of Brian Brooks' statements he made the other day when he was talking with Jay Clayton about how all the regulatory agencies are really working together. Let me read from here and to build on that notion. Yesterday's regulatory turf battles are today's opportunity to join together to unlock U.S. innovation from the bonds of regulatory uncertainty over digital assets and drive U.S.-based standards internationally. Recent announcements and statements once again demonstrate regulators' interest in joining together where appropriate to provide for greater clarity and regulatory certainty for the digital asset world. Technological innovations will continue to bring to the surface new, old regulatory challenges as firms and the products themselves transform and further stretch or make obsolete the siloed regulatory structures upon which our current system is based. Collaboration is key. Well said, Jackson Mueller. Great article. And it really reinforces that notion that I think the regulatory bodies, the agencies, the people there get this. I think the SEC, Jay Clayton and Hester Peirce gets this. I think that Brian Brooks clearly gets this. I think that FSOC gets this, and I think we will hear from them eventually at some point. I think you'll hear directly from the Treasury at some point too. And I also believe before this is all said and done, you will hear from the Federal Reserve, because let's not forget that's where all of this actually started for Ripple to begin with at the Faster Payments Task Force Council, right? So I really don't believe that Ripple will have to pack a bag and move the headquarters because, for one, they have several locations all over the world anyway. Number two, this did start with the Fed, and I don't believe that the task force was created by the Fed back in 2015 and then had Ripple on there as a leadership role. And all of this is done to really benefit the other large players of the world, minus the Fed in the United States. I have a very hard time wrapping my mind around that notion. But that doesn't mean that it's not a difficult climb from the inside workings of Congress and getting everyone to understand this is bigger than you know, even if you don't understand what Bitcoin is or the difference between Bitcoin and XRP and some other coin, right? Or what a blockchain is. You don't have to understand it to know that it's big. That's the truth, right? I don't know how electricity works, and I can't explain it to you, but I use it every day, and I understand how big it is as an impact on the human population. So that's a great example right there. Let's keep this moving because this expands and shows you that this is a global effort and the pressure from around the globe because they're all continually moving forward to take these positions. Look here from Payments Canada. The countdown is on for the Central Bank's Payments Conference starting October 13th. What future does ACH hold as real-time payments continue to dominate? Our president and CEO, Tracy Black, joins this exciting discussion. Well, I'll tell you something, all around the world, and October is a heavy month for a lot of things happening in the digital asset space. Let's keep the narrative going here because we also see, courtesy of Michael Val 5 Links, shout out to you, my friend, Jordan Ali Bank has gone live with Temenos Infinity System to cover its digital and mobile banking operations. Just a small reminder here, Temenos is enormous, and Temenos is working with Ripple. Let's keep that ball rolling. Bank of England, we are asking banks we regulate to make sure they are ready for the end of the year transition period with the EU on Thursday, 31st of December. Our Prudential Regulation Authority and the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, have sent this letter to the CEOs. Let's just take a look right here. And then you could see it. Banks need to continue to prepare for the end of the year, the transition period with the EU. This is important stuff. And it's also important to remember as well that the Bank of England has not taken the idea or notion of negative interest rates off the table. That's a pretty big impact right there. Now we're about to look at some stuff here from the Bank of International Settlements. I remind you, the Bank of International Settlements is a central bank, but it's really looked at more like the central bank of central banks. So, looking here, I remind you guys of what we learned about the Financial Innovation Hub that was put together by BIS, and several other banks, central banks around the world, including the Swiss National Bank, Bank of England, and the Federal Reserve Bank out of New York, and many other banks. I'm just highlighting a few here. The central banks have been providing trusted money to the public for hundreds of years as a part of their public policy objectives. Yet the world is changing to evolve and pursue these public policy objectives in a digital world. Central banks are actively researching the pros and cons of offering a digital currency to the public, a general purpose central bank digital currency. I'm going to stop right there because I have a video, very short video, and I'm going to play just a small clip of this video. And this is the Deputy Governor of the Bank of England and Chair of the Committee of Payments and Market Infrastructures. Market infrastructures. Now, this is important because, the water doesn't flow if you don't have the plumbing laid, right? And the plumbing put in place. So, with that being said, let me stop talking and let this gentleman start talking. And then we're going to hear from Benoit Coeure from the BIS and listen to what he says. I will stop this shortly after he talks. Here we go right here.
Paid. And for hundreds of years, central banks have been entrusted with the job of making sure that we can rely on the money we use every day, that it will be safe, convenient to use, and available to everyone. Technology is now quickly changing the way we live and the way that we transact with each other. And as has happened in the past, technology is changing the forms of money that we use in our everyday lives. As central banks, we need to think about the opportunities and the challenges that these changes mean for our job of ensuring that trusted, effective, and convenient money continues to be available to everyone. Many central banks are working on these issues. At the beginning of this year, a group of them decided to share and develop their analysis of a general purpose central bank digital currency, a digital electronic form of central bank money available to everyone to use, to pay, and to be paid. In a nutshell, a digital equivalent of cash. Today, this group is publishing a report which explores the opportunities and the challenges of such a digital currency. It sets out the key principles that should underpin it and the core features it should have, and the way it could help us as central banks to fulfill our mission.
So when it comes to feasibility, feasibility of a CBDC is for each central bank to decide for themselves. There are lots of questions which are specific to different jurisdictions. There are even political dimensions to deciding on a CBDC. So feasibility is for each and every of these central banks to decide. What we do in this report is to lay out the foundations. And for this, we need principles. And we've identified 3 key principles that should lay the foundations for any work on CBDC. And these principles are, first, a do no harm principle. That is, CBDC should not hamper central banks in delivering on their mandates. And that means delivering monetary stability and financial stability. The second principle is about having an ecosystem where CBDC will coexist with commercial bank money and with banknotes. And we want that ecosystem to be diverse. And the third principle is about encouraging innovation and efficiency, not only in money, but in the financial system at large. And for that, we need the private sector to be actively involved.
Oh, what did you just say? And for that, we need the private sector to be involved. I want it again, Benoit. Let's have it.
And for that, we need the private sector to be actively involved.
You know, it might sound good when I say it, but maybe it's the accent. I don't know. Or maybe it's actually that he's the head of the BIS, you know. Yeah, I think that part actually does it. Yeah, you know, hearing him say that it's the public and private sector, knowing that they had already developed and put together an innovation hub, which is not the exact article, but it speaks to the principles and core features that they've developed from that innovation hub, working together with all of these central banks around the world, including the Federal Reserve of New York, by the way. By the way, this opinion, this idea of working with the private sector here to get a central bank digital currency made is really outside of the idea of what Jerome Powell has said. Jerome Powell has clearly said that he doesn't want to see the private sector involved. He thinks they can do it on their own. They can get it done by 2023 to 2024. Well, that isn't how you lead the fourth industrial revolution. And I don't think it's accurate anyway, because I truly believe that if you believe the Fed is going to continue to pursue a central bank digital currency without the private sector, knowing full well they'd have no expertise in innovation, right? Then you would also have to believe that they started the Faster Payments Task Force to get this whole ball rolling for cross-border payments, which really hinges on the idea that stable coins and central bank digital currencies are the on and off ramps to represent the fiat money of the world to be able to make these payments on this brand new system. Then you would really have to believe that the Federal Reserve doesn't want the private sector's help, but yet put a task force together to find the right private sector company to be able to serve as the role for it. It just doesn't fly. Sorry, but where I come from, that dog don't hunt. Now, building on the notion that Benoit is laying it down and letting a little bit out here for all of us to see that we're about to find out some good things, here's some positive stuff from Mr. C, Baba Cugs here, who shows us a screenshot of Blink, right, which is a consortium, and we'll get into that in a second, but a nice diagram here that just shows you that Europe and the UK really have things in place here. This is what we're looking at. And you do see, the pound, right? The dollar, it shows regular fiat currencies, and then Bitcoin looks like potentially Ethereum and XRP is what I'm seeing there. And you see these diagrams laid out here that this is the banks, the custodians, this is the BCB group. And like I said, we'll get into that in a second, but this is a diagram, SWIFT, SEPA, Wire, etc., right? It gives you the diagram. Here we go. Let's go, because here's another one. Here's another one a little more clear, showing Blink. And real quick, we'll come back to this. What is the BCB group? The BCB group is a regulated financial services enterprise pushing the boundaries in the digital asset space with a dedicated focus on business accounts and cryptocurrency market liquidity for institutional clients. Our clients include some of the world's largest crypto-engaged financial institutions who demand robust technology services to continue to innovate in digital markets. In short, now going back to this diagram here, I don't know if it gets any more clear than this, to be honest with you. Shout out to Mr. C again, because this came from him as well. And I just wanted to finish with this because look at what's happening here, right? I mean, Blink is showing the Liquidity Interchange Network Consortium. You're seeing institutional funds, merchants going through clearing banks, traditional bank, clearing bank, right? Exchange market makers. And then down here, you see instant 24/7 global settlement, institutional funds, and it goes through and it shows the digital asset shared ledger is a technology enabled by future capital markets, a production ready, robust finance grade technology solution. And then Corda. The public Corda network is a publicly available internet of Corda nodes operated by the nonprofit Corda Foundation. I will remind you again that the Corda network and the Corda platform also has access, once you build on that platform, to the Corda settler. The Corda settler uses the digital asset XRP for settlement. And that's going to do it for me right there. I don't think we need to go on any further. The good news keeps rolling out, and I don't mind saying I think we're seeing the cooperation and the collective effort by the regulatory agencies. I think domestically, speaking in the U.S., I think that collective effort and that coordination spills over and shows great initiative from the regulatory agencies to the U.S. lawmakers. I think the U.S. lawmakers have already climbed the biggest mountain so far, which is the House of Representatives. And I think they will continue to move this thing through the Senate and then get it signed into legislation in the United States. And one of the main reasons I believe that as well is because of the Executive Order 13772 by the current administration, which is to modernize government and finance and with blockchain and cryptocurrency where applicable. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist. And when you see this motion happening globally and what's taking place on the other side of the world, I think it's green light go. That's where it's at my house. That's going to do it for me. Hit the like and subscribe, everybody. I just did and wrapped a great show with Dave Valliers, Cryptopolis, and it was a great show, and I want you guys to make sure you keep an eye out for that. That's going to be out on Saturday morning. You're not going to want to miss it. It's straight fire. Hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below, make sure you share with somebody you know. I'll catch all of you on the next one.